Morning, everybody. I am driving right now. My hands are on the wheel. I'm not planning on crashing. So I'm filming this because I felt like yesterday trying to have some serious conversation over a conference call where I sat in an empty office in an empty office building was weird and it felt uncomfortable. But I feel way more comfortable in front of a camera and I feel like it's more personable, and so I'm doing this. The other thing in regards to this is that I am oftentimes long-winded. Some people who know me well know that, and I usually kind of feel bad about that, and I try to curb that. Probably not successfully that much, but today, right now, I don't really care to do that. So this might be a little bit lengthy. I ask you just hang in there. So here's the deal. We are in a situation with a company where we said, hey, we're starting a sales team, bringing on all these people, doing this whole kind of new way of doing business. And the idea would be that we're going to ease into that over 4, 5, 6 months, letting everybody build up their customer base. But coronavirus hit and just everything is changing. So here's essentially where we are today. We're in a position where the governments are pretty much shutting down our industry, bars and restaurants. I think everyone's aware of this. And so that makes everybody wonder and question what kind of business can we actually do? Like we want to keep doing business. We want everyone to have jobs. We want everybody to have some success. But what is even out there to do? And so when you look at yesterday's numbers, sales were they weren't terrible, but they definitely weren't good. And had a conversation with Rick and Jared and Matt last night, and they're seeing things that are kind of promising on their end, but again, it's not good. It's not oh yeah, this is good times, but it's not bad enough that it's terrible or hey, we can't do this. And so today is going to tell us what we can and cannot do. And I hope you guys hear me when I say this. I hope you guys are paying attention. Again, I know I can be long-winded, but this is so critical to what happens in the near future. We pretty much have two ways of going about this with all these shutdowns all over the place. We can either call our hearts out today and we can go find the business and we can have a decent sales day and prove that as a team we can go generate sales. The other part of that, sort of part B to that, is we go call our hearts out. And maybe sales aren't amazing, but there's a lot of promise. People are actually picking up the phone. People are actually wanting to do business. Maybe they're not ready to close right away, but they're close. If one of those things happen, we might be able to weather this thing, and we keep moving, and everything's good. If we don't make a bunch of calls today, or we do and we find out, man, no one's dealing, no one's picking up, then we can't keep doing this. This isn't going to work. We're probably technically supposed to be closed down along with most other businesses. And so we're trying to do our best to stay open, specifically because we have a whole sales team that is primarily compensated with commission. And so if you're not selling, how much money are you actually making? And does that work for people? And so I know me personally, I want this to work. I want people to be able to still make some decent money, make some okay money, get carried through here. But yesterday, we barely made any outgoing calls. In fact, not one person made double-digit outgoing calls. And yes, the first half of the day, we were getting things worked out and figuring things out, but we had a good 2 to 3 hours where most people could have been making outbound calls. And we weren't. So, I guess I'm tasking everybody with today we need to make somewhere as a company 250 outbound calls by noon. That's a little less than 10 calls a person per hour. My guess is that not all 10 people are going to pick up and want to do business every hour. So I'm going to assume most of those calls are going to be very brief conversations, if anything. So the goal of each person doing roughly 10 calls per hour, I think, is very achievable. I don't see why we couldn't do that. So, if we can get to 250 calls as a company by midday, I think that will give us a good idea of what's going on. And if it sounds like people are picking up and they're willing to deal, we keep cruising, we do it, we get some decent sales today, we keep moving forward tomorrow, all that fun stuff. If we get to the middle of the day and nobody is picking up the phone, or we're not making calls, then I think we're probably having a different conversation at the end of the day as to what we're doing moving forward. So, along with that said, it seems most companies are kind of going on a 2-week hiatus, month-long hiatus, I don't know, whatever it ends up having to be. If we have to get to that point, if we find midday we just can't make anything happen, that's probably where we are as a company, is probably saying, okay, everyone's going to have in some way some type of a job, but what does that actually look like if everyone's commission-based and we're not making sales? It's certainly not going to be what we all want it to be. So I'm not trying to scare people. I'm not trying to make people feel like I'm being mean or a jerk or forcing people's hands. This is just a crazy, weird time, and nobody has a clear answer. And so it is, let's give our best stab at this today and see what happens. So my hope is midday, people have made a bunch of calls. They've reached out to existing business. They have gone through exported that document, so that way you've got calls that you want to make. When you do that, be mindful of not calling people out on the West Coast. I have made that mistake in months past, and you get a lot of not so happy people. So, thank you for your time, everybody. I'm sorry this is, again, long-winded, but that's just what I had to be today. Feel free to call my extension, shoot me emails. I'm happy to help in any way. But let's please, at worst, give this a go and figure out that we can't make it work. That is worst case scenario. My hope is that we can. I think we can get some sales. I think we can make some commissions. We can make some connections. But we at least have to give it a try. And today is going to be that day. So, thank you for your time. I look forward to talking to you guys as the day goes on. Adios.